only 2% of all sales take place on the first contact. That means 98% of sales take an additional contact, which means we have to follow up. The bad thing here is nearly 50% of sales reps do not follow up. Watch this video and ensure you understand the 5 components to follow up and generate more sales this year. F you. Not that. Follow up. It's the magic word that takes place in sales. Small business professionals, sales professionals, really anyone who's selling any service has to follow up. 2 out of 100 customers buy on that initial contact. The mistake people make is they treat follow-up like it's an obligation, like they have to do it, versus treating follow-up like as a strategical part of the sales process. Once you take the mental shift and you realize follow-up is a strategy, not an obligation in the sales process, you'll have a different approach on it. And following up is the number one thing that separates your income from average income to top tier income. So here's the 5 steps to ensure you're following up effectively this year. Step number 1, you have to follow up immediately. Act now, act today. When you get an inbound lead in your business, someone goes to the website, inquires about your services, sends you a DM on social media, tells you in really short phrases, I'm interested in what you're doing. You have to follow up immediately. If you fail to follow up immediately, you get caught into this cycle of following up later and later and later, and the likelihood of you generating a sale becomes smaller and smaller and smaller. Listen to some data to support this. Forbes will tell you that the average company takes 47 hours to respond to an inbound lead. 47 hours. For 2 days, your prospect is wondering, is this company interested in earning my business? The crazy thing about taking 2 days is there's tons of data out there that supports the first company to respond has the highest likelihood of closing the business. I don't understand how you, as a sales professional, can allow 2 days to pass without following up. The Harvard Business Review cites that only 37% of sales professionals respond to a lead within 1 hour. That's better, but that's still only 37% of you. So in order to maximize the opportunities you have and follow up effectively, you want to be the first person to follow up. This is the inbound lead follow-up. Someone reaches out to you, you follow up immediately. Data suggests that if you're the first vendor to respond, you have a 78% better chance of closing the deal. Here's the thing about follow-up. Everyone associates follow-up with after I meet my prospect, how do I continue this relationship? And we are going to talk about that. But I would be remiss if I didn't share with you this important follow-up rule. You only have to follow up if you didn't close the deal the first time. Now, this is for those 2% of deals that say yes. If you want to give yourself the best chance of closing the deal, you have to act immediately. You have to follow up instantly. If someone shoots you a DM, if someone fills out a lead contact form, if someone comes to you at a trade show and drops their business card, follow up with that person immediately. The intent to learn information is at an all-time high. And if we don't act while that intent is high, the longer time goes, run into an issue called Lodi, the law of diminishing intent, meaning their intention to learn about your product or service starts to go down the longer time takes. So act immediately, follow up right away on any inbound lead. The quicker you act on the inbound lead, the less likely you have to go through a traditional follow-up cycle after you present with your prospect, which leads me to point number 2. Implement the value ladder in traditional follow-up methods. What exactly is that? That is this. Do not be the salesperson that sends an email that says, hey, I'm just checking in. Do not be the sales rep who makes the phone call, hey, Mr. Jones, I'm just checking in. When we reach out to a prospect and we say, hey, we're just checking in, what you're telling this prospect is, with all honesty, I've done 0 additional work to earn your business, but I'm going to call to see if you want to spend money with me. That's what you just said. I've done zero additional work to earn your business, but I'm calling to see if you want to work with me. Think about that for a quick second. Take this out of the context of sales and take this into the context of a relationship. If you were establishing a personal relationship with somebody who wanted to be your friend, who wanted to date you, who wanted to be your spouse, if they called you and said, I've done zero additional work to earn your relationship, but I want to see if you want to come out with me, what would you say? You would say, hell no, let's be honest. So why are you doing that with your prospect? I mean, you are literally killing yourself when you go out to a prospect and say, hey, I'm just following up. That sucks. Don't do that. Now, what do? The value ladder. The value ladder says this: every time I reach out to you, I'm going to give you some additional pieces of valuable information that is relevant to your business, that is relevant to our discussion, that is relevant to your industry, that is relevant to the current time we're in. We always want to find ways to add additional value. Now, let me set this precedence here. The longer I go up the value ladder, the quality of the value may get smaller and smaller. And this is for you, the successful salesperson that's following up 15, 20, 25 times. Is the value I'm going to share with my prospect on follow-up number 20 going to be the same as follow-up number 3? Probably not. But the context is going to be the same. I'm going to continue to deliver additional points of value. How exactly do you deliver value? Numerous ways. You can create and share helpful infographics that help illustrate the point that you were making during your discovery call, or help illustrate trends that are taking place in your prospect's business. You can also share relevant third-party stories. If your prospect is struggling with the problem that your company has already solved for somebody else, you can share that in a third-person story and tell your prospect this story that is sharing additional value. There are tons of ways to deliver additional value. And every time I deliver additional value, I do not say, hey, I'm just checking in. It's a really simple format. It's, hey, Mr. Prospect, was thinking about you the other day, saw this article online and made me think of your business, wanted to share with you. Hope things are well. I look forward to talking with you soon. Signed, Anthony. You see what I just did there? I'm bringing something to the table without asking for anything in return. That, my friends, is valuable follow-up. That is using the value ladder. Every step we take, we give additional value. Step number 3, schedule your follow-up in a calendar. I can't tell you this enough. The number one mistake when sales reps make when they have a follow-up strategy, meaning any inbound lead, they're quick to act. When someone doesn't make a sale on the first one, they've created a value ladder of content of what they're going to reach out and share with their prospect. The next mistake you make is it's not scheduled. If you don't schedule the follow-up in your calendar, in your planner, in your automation systems, it is not going to happen. Scheduling follow-up is very, very easy if done immediately after meeting the prospect. So if I meet a prospect and we don't negotiate a deal on the first attempt, I instantly go to my calendar and I schedule all my follow-ups. I put my follow-up for 24 to 48 hours. I put my follow-up for 7 days out, the 14-day, the 21-day, the 28-day, and I add all that into my calendar. Now, bonus points here. If you already have a templated follow-up system, you can completely implement that right away. Take that to the bank and put those systems in place. We'll talk about that in a little bit. The other way you can have the instant follow-up is if you have a system of automation. If your HubSpot, Pipedrive, Salesforce, whatever your CRM system is, if you set that automation up for follow-ups, you can do that. The reason I don't like the automation and follow-up is it doesn't allow you to account for current events in your follow-up. So you can set the trigger off to tell you, hey, you need to follow up with Prospect Jones today. I wouldn't necessarily set that email to go out at that time unless you're able to add relevant current information up until the day before. So then that's why, for me personally, I utilize a traditional method. I put something in my Outlook. I have the templates I'm going to use. So for me to send follow-up is very, very quick. But I like to do that because it keeps me relevant with current events. And I can go look on someone's LinkedIn profile or website and see if there's any changes that took place the 24 hours before I send the follow-up, because I want that follow-up the most relevant, interesting email they received that day. Now, if your follow-up is email only, that's one thing. You can send the same strategies via text message, via phone calls. It's just doing it that matters. So schedule that follow-up. Here's a scary statistic for you. If you are selling a product or service, it is going to take an average of 7 to 10 interactions before your prospect says yes. Here's the scary part about that. 9 out of 10 sellers give up on follow-up after the 5th attempt. So if your prospect is taking 7 to 10 interactions before they say yes, and you're giving up after the 5th attempt, man, you're losing so much opportunity there. So schedule that follow-up, commit to it, and watch your results grow. The 4th step in successful follow-up. This step, if executed, will change the game for you. So if you are already doing steps 1 through 3, you have to add this step in. This is called the accountability step. The accountability step tells your prospect everything you're going to do in advance. Here's what I mean. You sit with the prospect, you have a good meeting. You end the meeting and you say, great, we didn't make a decision today. I'll follow up with you next week. We'll touch base then. Harmless conversation. I've seen it happen thousands of times. Here's what's wrong with that situation there. If that conversation ends right there and you say, I'll follow up with you next week, and you do nothing to hold that person accountable, the amount of information that person retains from your meeting is slim. Some data would suggest it's less than 10% of the information we heard is going to be retained within a week from now. So why am I going to leave this all to chance? The accountability setup is this. After I meet with the prospect and I share my value of services and we go through all the bells and whistles, I run a good discovery call, we have this great conversation, I instantly send an email recap of what our meeting was about. When I say instantly, within the same business day. If you're meeting somebody at the end of your business day, it makes sense to do it in the morning. If you're an overachiever, do it at night. Either way, get it out right away. What that business recap email says: Mr. Prospect, here were the problems you shared with me. Here were the solutions that we've identified. And here's our next scheduled time to speak. I look forward to working with you. That's it. If I share a recap of what our meeting was about, I now have something to reference in the future. If I share a recap of what our meeting is about, our prospect now has something to read to remind them of the conversation we just had. These recap emails will help you hold a prospect accountable to what they said they were going to do. Meaning, if they were going to do additional research, if they acknowledged and said your service is the solution we're looking for, if they told you they'll give you an opportunity to go through a full demo with their board of directors on the next monthly meeting, whatever it is they tell you, put it in an email and share that email instantly. You have just created a tracking record for you and your prospects. So when you follow up, you can always reference this email. I guess 4.2, this little tracking record, this accountability you put in place. If a follow-up takes 6, 7, 8 months, that accountability email is going to be so valuable because you can always go and reference it. Now, if you're a busy sales professional and you're working with multiple deals, you know as well as I do, our pipeline gets full and sometimes we forget the details of each conversation. So if I put it in an email and I share it with my prospect, I too am going to remember the details of the conversation and how to share additional value. So implement that accountability in your system. The 5th and final step of effective follow-up this year. This is my secret weapon. This is what I have shared with clients all over the world. And when I tell somebody this step, it's incredibly simple, but very effective. I guarantee the next time you do this step, you will gain the information you're looking for. Here's what I mean. The worst thing to do in follow-up as a sales professional is to follow up with somebody who genuinely has zero intention of ever doing business with you. If someone genuinely has zero intention of ever doing business with you, they aren't somebody you want to spend a lot of time on. Sometimes we end up in the follow-up stage because people genuinely have a difficult time of telling us no. And I know that you can make an occasional sale doing this, being the pestering sales rep. I get it. Me personally, that's not my business model. That's not what I teach. I want authentic customers who are truly appreciative of the products I sell and the solutions I present for the problems they have. So, in order to get the right people in the follow-up funnel, you have to do this one step and do this one step every time. It does two parts. Here's the step. Ask for permission to follow up. At the end of the conversation, I'm going to ask for permission to follow up. Here's why I do that. Anthony, I can't believe you're teaching me to ask a yes or no question. I can't believe you're putting me out there like this. What if someone doesn't know that I need this, etc.? All that crap. Here's the deal. Here's why we ask for permission. Number one, you as the sales rep. I've mentored and coached thousands of sales reps over the past 20 years. And one of the things that I tell everyone when they follow up is this. You feel more uncomfortable following up than your prospect feels receiving the follow-up. A lot of sales reps feel like, I don't want to bug my prospect. I don't want to keep pestering them. They already told me no, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Well, if you're calling back saying, hey, I'm calling just to check in, then yeah, you're pestering the hell out of them. But if you're following the value ladder and you're sharing additional resources, you're not pestering them, you're providing value to them. And in order for you, the sales rep, to feel comfortable with that, you gain permission to do so. It's a simple question. At the end of my presentation, if we have not come to a conclusion and we've agreed to follow up next week, I simply say, hey, Mr. Jones, I appreciate that. I really value our time together today, and I look forward to speaking with you next week. With all honesty, I just want you to know it's kind of funny. I definitely am going to follow up with you and continue to share additional value until we agree to make a decision. Does that sound fair? Yes. The reason I ask that is, can I make this additional follow-up? And I'm prefacing, I'm going to keep calling you. I'm going to keep emailing you. I'm going to add you to my database. You are going to hear from me. The reason I share that with them is when they say yes, I got permission. If they say no, this is part two, the benefit to asking. No, I don't want to hear from you. It literally recreates the conversation. Look, Mr. Jones, I get that. Is it no, you don't want to hear from me? Or is it truly no, you don't think you're ever going to do business with me? And if that's the case, I appreciate that. I would rather hear that now, so I'm respectful of your time and you're respectful of my time. Do you see what we just did right there? I literally took the opportunity to work with me away, meaning I'm not going to waste another resource calling you. And if you truly have the courage, or it's truly the wrong fit, and you say, hey, I'm not going to do business with you, then just tell me. I don't want to waste my time and resources, and I don't want to waste your time and resources. Sales reps are afraid to have that discussion because they'll say, what if they're the one that says yes? Got to be honest with you. If you have proper pipeline management and your funnel's always full, the one that says no really is not going to hurt you. The only way it hurts you is when you dedicate tons of resources to somebody who never has full intention of working with you. So ask for permission to follow up. By doing that, you, one, reestablish the commitment that you have permission to follow up, so you internally feel good when you reach out. Number two, you gut check your prospect to see, is this something you really want to work with? Because if the answer is no, just tell me. Like, I would rather have someone say, Anthony, I have zero intention of ever working with you. Do not ever call me again. Don't message me. Don't text me. You know what? I could live with that. I could live with the yes. I could live with the no. I hate being in limbo as a sales professional. I imagine you do too. Here's the deal. If you found value in the 5 steps to follow up, do me a favor. Smash that like button. Comment below and tell me, what is the number one thing you do when you follow up with the prospect? Is there a strategy you implement that I forgot? Is there something you would like for me to explore on? Also, if you need additional help with following up, or would like to learn about how to implement a templated value ladder system, do me a favor. Go to catapultingcommissionsworkshop.com, sign up for the upcoming workshop. I share that information and more in the Catapulting Commission Sales Academy. Click the link below. I'd love to see you there. Guys, I'm Anthony Garcia. This is Catapulting Commission Sales Talk. I'll see you next week.